It all chronicles one traveler's trip. A brief trip, but deeply unsettling. An encounter in Southeast Asia. This is really a study of how sometimes when you're chasing beauty, in this case, the perfect sunset, you can end up somewhere else entirely, somewhere pulled in by the unexplained. So I want you to really feel the setting here based on these initial notes. The traveler lands in Lombok, Indonesia. Pretty standard stuff. The goal seems simple enough. Rent a motorbike in Setangi, follow that winding coastal road north, find the perfect spot for the sunset. You know, the kind of sun-drenched, carefree Indonesian adventure many people seek. But the place they were drawn to, the thing that pulled them off that main path, it had a name, whispered locally. Villa Hantu, a half-finished concrete shell. Like a skeleton, really. A gray frame stark against that incredibly blue sky in the ocean. It's this strange paradox, right? A huge, failed project looming over this beautiful natural landscape. Getting up there was, well, it was deliberate. They paid a small fee to a local person running a stall nearby. A simple transaction, almost mundane. It kind of lent this air of normalcy to visiting this ruin. And the stall owners pointed to a bamboo ladder. That was it. The only way to the roof they could see. Now let's talk about the atmosphere. The notes really capture this. The traveler got there mid-afternoon. The sun was already starting to dip lower in the sky, casting these incredibly long, broken shadows through all those empty window frames, like vacant eyes, staring out at the sea. And the air, they wrote, it smelled thick. Salt, yes, but also old concrete dust, like disturbed dust. It wasn't the smell you'd expect, like jungle taking over. No, it smelled abandoned, utterly abandoned, like something just waiting. The view from the top, though, that was undeniably the reason for going. You can understand the lure. You could see the sea on three sides. And way out, across the strait, this faint shape, Bali's Makagung, humbling. But even that stunning view was kind of overshadowed by something else, something more powerful. The isolation. The traveler stresses his point, again and again in the notes. No swimmers, no surfers, just the abandoned walls and my own footsteps. Think about that. Completely alone inside this massive, silent structure. And it was this emptiness, this absolute unbroken quiet that set the stage for the first little shift, the first crack in the normal. They were setting up the camera, framing that perfect sunset shot. And then they heard it, an immediate but very subtle sound, a break in the calm. Something shifted. Behind them. Not a person, more like an echo of cloth. An echo of cloth. Think about that phrase. Not the sound itself, but the memory of a sound happening right then. They turned around quickly, of course, and the corridor on the floor below, that open hallway, it looked dark.
Darker than the bright afternoon sun should have allowed. Now, initially they rationalized it. Had to be a trick of the light, right? A shifting shadow. But the notes, they capture that first little seed of unease that was planted right then. So they put down their gear, started to explore the inner rooms a bit more. And this is where time and local history start to layer in. You could see it on the walls. Graffiti. Layers of it. And seeing that graffiti, it connected them back to this chilling local legend they'd heard earlier from their host. Why was the villa abandoned? Nobody seemed quite sure, just vague talk of bad luck. But the stories that grew up around the place itself, they were much darker, more specific. Persistent rumors about young couples, sneaking in after dark for privacy, using the huge empty building. And then the story gets really grim. The most disturbing claim, the one tied specifically to this villa near Setangi, it involved abandoned babies, left there. Now, the source suggests this local lore didn't terrify the traveler instantly, not consciously anyway, but it primed them. It sort of prepared the psychological ground. The traveler even noted very clearly, I didn't believe in ghosts. But that certainty, that rational stance, it just dissolved. In the very next moment, the tipping point came with this sound, almost delicate. A soft knock behind the wall, like something tapping. Just a tap. Such a small domestic sound. But in that vast, open, decaying place, the reaction wasn't subtle at all. It was physical. Visceral, the notes say. The hairs on my neck stood up. Instantaneous. And the decision was just as fast. Forget the sunset. Grab the bike key. Leave. Now. But getting out wasn't simple. The retreat itself became strange. They instinctively flicked on their phone light and cut through the growing darkness. But the corridor seemed to stretch. It felt unnaturally long, and every doorway they had to pass looked exactly the same, identical. It created this awful spatial confusion, feeding the panic, and this mental effect, it was amplified by something sensory. The notes mentioned the sea breeze, which should have been constant, right? Roaring outside. It just stopped. Abruptly. And then this feeling. Time felt slow. So you see, the weirdness wasn't just visual or auditory anymore. It was this profound silence. A total muting of the natural world around them, like a deep internal disconnection from reality, maybe brought on by the fear. Once they finally made it back to the motorbike and started riding away, that disorientation didn't just vanish. The feeling that the brain ticked like a faulty clock, as they put it, stayed with them on the ride back. Landmarks the traveler knew they should have passed. They were just
Gone. A specific beach they remembered passing earlier, a small cafe that was clearly marked on their tourist map, vanished. And the journey itself. It should have taken maybe 10 minutes back to the main road. Instead, it stretched out 20 minutes. 20 minutes of confusing, somehow repeating road. And all during this long, frustrating ride back, the phone signal just died, completely gone, cutting them off from any external check, any help. Total isolation again. Then there's the final, really chilling detail from that ride, glancing in the rearview mirror and seeing the villa's roof again, despite the very clear memory, the certainty of having passed it half an hour ago. What does that suggest? I mean, the material doesn't offer any neat explanation, just this implication that whatever hold Villa Hantu had, it was geographic. It defied normal space, normal distance. The place just refused to be left behind. That night, finally back in the relative safety of a guest house, the traveler did what many of us would do. They reviewed the evidence, the digital trail. At first, it seemed okay. The sunset photos were fine, beautiful, standard shots. It confirmed the memory of the light, at least. But then, the anomaly. One specific video clip, taken from the roof of the villa, contained something the traveler hadn't consciously seen, hadn't intended to record. Right down on the bottom corner of the frame, the camera caught a white shape. And this shape moved, just as the traveler pressed the stop button, a flicker of motion, caught only by the machine in the digital periphery. What's really fascinating here is, well, it's like evidence of the unconscious noticing something. Because the traveler's physical reaction to watching that footage, it was the same as the reaction to the tapping sound in the villa, visceral. Their finger actually shook holding the phone. And the immediate mental response, raw denial, desperate denial. No way I had filmed that. That's what they wrote. The terror wasn't just subjective anymore. It was objective, recorded, right there on the phone, confirming the fear from the afternoon. Well, that incident pretty much guaranteed a sleepless night. The notes are meticulous here. They even record the time. 3:11 a.m. That's when the ceiling above their bunk bed creaked loudly. Maybe seeking comfort or just some proof of normalcy, the traveler got up. Went to check the communal laundry area, but the hostel itself felt wrong, unnaturally empty. An empty quiet, they called it, and the sea below, which should have been this constant comforting roar. It sounded muted. Strange, a direct echo of that sensory muting they'd felt hours before up at the villa. The next morning, desperate for some context, any kind of explanation, the traveler approached one of the local staff members at the guest house, asked them directly, "Is the villa safe at night?" The answer they got was, well, it was one of those deeply unsettling non-answers you sometimes get. The staff member just shrugged and delivered this final, vague line that shut down the conversation completely. It is what it is. Just it is what it is. Like a piece of accepted local knowledge, something the traveler wasn't really supposed to understand or question. So the final chapter is the traveler's decision to go back at dawn. Convinced somehow that daylight, the sheer power of the sun, could maybe counteract the weirdness from the day before. They rode back to Villa Hantu. But the villa, it had changed again, impossibly. That bamboo ladder, the one that was the only way up to the roof just hours before, gone, just gone. Simply a gap now, the notes say. And the little parking stall where they'd paid the fee, closed, deserted. And the spot where the traveler's motorbike had definitely been parked the day before. Now, only. A goat wandered. Just a goat. There was no rational way to explain it. The missing ladder, the closed stall. Was it some deliberate physical change overnight, or was it another distortion, another glitch in time and space just for the traveler? The response this time was pure instinct, final, right away, fast, and don't look back. The traveler finishes their notes by trying to sum up the lasting effect, the psychological toll. The whole visit, they summarized. It felt less like travel and more like stepping into someone else's waiting room, like a space just waiting for something that never quite fully happened but left its mark anyway, left its stain. The cost of chasing that perfect sunset turned out to be pretty steep. They acknowledged the beauty. Yes, the sea was stunning. The villa's frame still stands there, impressive in its own way. But, they admitted, I left something behind in that place, a small part of my calm. So, if your own travels, your own curiosity, ever lead you to northern Lombok, if you find yourself chasing a sunset above Setangi Beach, you will see it. The distinctive half-built frame of Villa Hantu. It's impossible to miss. It's easy to find. It's easy to visit. Seems easy anyway.